So I did some more observations because I wasn't really sure what was smelling. And I noticed it wasn't the eggs. It was actually the milk. Come take a look. So it's actually my milk that was spoiling, but only one of them was spoiling. This one is the one that's gone bad. So I have to do an experiment because there's a lot of reasons that this could have gone bad while this one didn't. So I need to set up an experiment, but first I need to figure out what specifically I'm going to test. So I might think about, well, there's two different brands. One is Brown's and one is Climter. There are also two different types of milk. One is 2%, one is skim, and there are also two different sizes, different volumes of milk. One is 1.89 liters and the other one is 900 milliliters. So all of those factors could have affected why my milk spoiled. But I don't know yet. So I have to make a testable question. And that's our first vocab word for the day. A testable question is a question that can be measured by conducting an experiment. And we know that an experiment has to have an independent variable and a dependent variable. And remember, we can only have one independent variable at a time. So I can choose to change just the type. So I'd have to get Brown's Dairy 2% and then Brown's Dairy Skim and maybe Brown's Dairy Whole and see if that affects the spoilage rate. My independent variable would be the type of milk. Or I could get Brown's Dairy 2% milk and Winn-Dixie 2% milk, and maybe it could be the brand that really made this one spoil faster. So I have to pick one independent variable that I'm going to change, and then I have to measure. And in this case, I'm going to measure how many days it takes for one milk to spoil versus the other. So my testable question is usually in the form, how does one thing affect the other? How does your IV affect your DV? What's the cause and what's the effect? So let's go ahead and write that down. A testable question is usually in the form, how does IV affect your DV? So an example of this, if I wanted to get two different brands, is how does the brand of milk affect the spoilage rate? Because I know that rate in science just means the time it takes for that to spoil. Write that down as your example. But I also have a lot of other questions about milk, about things spoiling, about the weird things in my fridge. I might wonder, where does milk come from in the first place? I might wonder, well, how come my yogurt didn't spoil? I might wonder, why do I have to marinate my steak up there? Why does that make it taste better? If it's a question that would be better answered in a book or online, that's a research question. I can't answer those questions by testing it. In fact, that information already exists. I just have to look it up or research it. And that's our second vocab word for today. A research question is a question that has already been answered or can easily be looked up in a book or online. Let me fix that for you. So an example of this could be, why does milk rot? I do not have an independent variable. I do not have a dependent variable. I'm just asking a question. In order to have a testable question, you need to change one thing and see how that change affects the output. And you need to measure that output. So with all this wondering we're doing as scientists, it might be hard to decide if we're answering a testable question or a research question. So a strategy that helps you out is ask yourself, can this question be answered by measuring a change? If it can, it's a testable question, if you can answer it in an experiment. If it can't be answered in an experiment, if it's not about a change that you're measuring, then it's just a research question. So that's our last notes, is to write down that strategy. Ask ourselves if it's an answer that can be done in an experiment. So, our strategy. Ask yourself, can a change be measured? If it's yes, it's a testable or experimental question. If it's no, it's a researchable question. I'm going to show you guys one more testable question, and I want you guys to figure out, no, that's it. We're going to cut that out.